And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about the Mets and the rotation situation with Christian Scott being injured. But before that, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show. It really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show for today. All right, so we talked about the Mets, my favorite team. I make no measure of hiding that. Yesterday was a good day, as we did end up clinching the season series against the Yankees, which is always fun. Have now won 3 out of the 4 games. 4th game left to be played tonight, so hopefully we go for the sweep. That'll be great. But yeah, so news broke yesterday, I'd say, actually during my show. I remember reacting to it live during my show. I saw it during one of my breaks, that Christian Scott was placed on the 15-day injured list by the New York Mets with a UCL sprain. Now, a UCL sprain is bad. Anything involving UCL that is not of the normal is basically death for a pitcher. That's something that is absolutely awful and not something that you want whatsoever. Anything like that is just something that you have to take with the highest level of priority to make sure that this person is okay, that this person is, fully healthy. So when that happened, I was very surprised. I didn't expect that to happen and was worried. And a lot has been made of the Mets rotation and the situation with them going into the trade deadline. And now with Christian Scott going on the IL, I did want to talk about it. So the Mets have been... There's been a lot of reports, I should say, about the Mets that they are willing to trade from their pitching depth. Now, the Mets have something a lot of teams don't have right now, which, as I said, pitching depth. The Mets right now, I would say, have 8 or 9 pitchers that can make a start at a high level. I mean, they have very good depth right now, which a lot of teams just simply do not have at this point in the season. And because of that, they have, I think, a lot of reports have been that the Mets are willing to trade from that depth to be able to, further other parts of their team or farm system because they're willing to take advantage of that market. I mean, just going off the top of my head here, you have, of course, Kodai Senga, who should be back Friday, so I'm factoring him in at this point. Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, Christian Scott when he's healthy. You have, of course, also Jose Quintana, David Peterson, Tyler McGill. You have Brandon Sproat from the minor leagues as well, someone that could be called up rather soon, a prospect that I think is close to the major leagues. And then you also have Jose Budo, who's out of the bullpen. That's 9 guys right there that I, as a Mets fan, will feel comfortable with making a start. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Tyler McGill, but I think there's a lot worse options ever. So, so the thing that has been talked about is, would the Mets trade from that pitching depth to further a different part of their team, get some prospects back, and take advantage of that market? Now, with Scott going on the IL, it is a little bit different because now with Scott going on the IL, let's look what you have now. So now you would have, of course, Senga, you would have Severino, Manaea, Quintana, Peterson, McGill, Budo, Sproat. So that's 8 now. Let's say you trade from one of them. Okay, let's say you trade Quintana. He's been someone that has been talked a lot as being traded because he only has 1 year left in his deal. He's older. It just makes some sense. There, you have 7 now. So your rotation would look like Senga at the 1, Severino at the 2. You would have Manaea at the 3. You would probably have Peterson there, and then you would have someone like McGill. So that would be your 5 there. And the question now becomes, how much worse does your rotation become? And I think at this point now, with Scott being injured, it is a problem because Budo's been really great out of the bullpen. So you're now down to 6, assuming you trade a starter. And again, I'm not a big fan of McGill, and that's 5. And you have to have a 6-man rotation because of Senga. So you're kind of in a situation now where that's a question mark. So I wouldn't trade from their starting pitching. I think that's kind of out of the window here. And now with Scott, do you even trade for a starting pitcher? Because right now, if you're a Mets fan, you feel very comfortable in that top 4. You feel very comfortable in Senga. I have no problem that he's going to come back healthy. I think he's going to be really great, like he always is. I mean, we only have 1 year of that, but, hey, it was a pretty great year. You have Severino, who's been very solid. Manaea, who's been very solid. That's 3. Peterson, who's actually been very solid. And then, of course, Quintana, who also has been better as of recently. So that's 5. You need a 6th guy to help out in the rotation. Are you going to put Budo back in the rotation, even though he's been really great in the bullpen? Are you going to call up Brandon Sproat and kind of fast track his development to get into a playoff race? It's all a question mark. So I think the question now is, what do the Mets do about their rotation? Do they trade from it now? Is that all gone? Do they do nothing with it? And I really do think that the best path for them right now is to stand pat. I think that all the rumors about them trading from their rotation are kind of dead now because of Scott. And now what happens next year, let's say, if Scott has the worst situation possible, and then he gets Tommy John? I mean, he has a UCL injury. It's not like I'm reaching entirely here. No, it's not great right now. So I think it's really a question at this point, what happens with that? So if I'm the Mets right now, what do I do with the rotation? First of all, I think you have to keep Budo in the bullpen. Budo has just been such an electrifying presence out of that bullpen. He's done so great in that 2, 3, 4 innings, sometime even role. And I would have him in their starting rotation next year, but still. So right now, with the Mets going into Senga's going to start on Friday, assuming there's no setbacks in his rehab, which I don't know if there should be. He's done with rehab started, so it would have to be something in warm-up or something like that. But obviously, they're going to take it very careful, so I would understand if something does happen. Even the tiniest, minuscule thing, I think, could happen. You would now have Senga as the ace, Severino as the 2 guy, Minaya as the 3, Quintana as the 4, Peterson as the 5, and then what? McGill as the 6th? Would you have Budo there? Would you have Sproat there? So it'll be interesting. So I think right now the Mets rotation still is looking very solid. I mean, yes, after Senga, there's really no elite guy. I think Severino's really more of a good 3 than a 2. So that's a question mark there. But how long is Scott going to be out? I mean, if he returns, that's great. What happens with Budo? What happens with Brandon Sproat? Personally, if I was the Mets, I'd call up Brandon Sproat to be in the bullpen. I think he continues his development there, especially at the highest level, and uses great stuff out of the bullpen, but you're not overworking his arm. That's just me, though. Also, you need bullpen help so badly, but again. So I think the Mets rotation right now and just what happens with this team is going to be very, very interesting. And overall, I am just very excited to see what the Mets do. Now, to be honest, if I'm expecting what will the Mets do with the deadline is really what I have to wonder now. Now, I think it's pretty clear. I don't think they're going to do anything crazy. I just think they're going to get 2 bullpen arms. Whether it's a righty, whether it's a lefty, whether it's 2 lefties, whether it's 2 righties. Please, not 2 righties. Give me at least 1 lefty. I'd like 2, but But credit to Jake Diekman. I mean, he's been the lefty all year, and he did amazing last year. Last night, even though he's been horrible all year, struck out Aaron Judge. So I think really what they're going to do is they've already acquired 1 bullpen arm in Phil Maton. I think they're going to acquire at least 2 I think at least 1 arm. I think it would have to be a lefty and then 1 righty arm as well. Guys who aren't going all in, not someone of the caliber of a Tanner Scott, but maybe an Andrew Chafin, someone like that, who's on the middle tier of that. You're also getting reinforcements. Shintaro Fujinami is someone you could call up as depth. Reed Garrett is coming back soon. Sean Reed Foley, I believe, is coming back soon. So there are still some depth options here you can have for this Mets team. So overall, I think their pitching is very interesting to watch, and I think this Mets team is a very interesting team to watch. But overall, just going over it, I think this Mets team is really good. If they win tonight and the Braves lose again, they'll be 1 game out of being in second place in the NL East. That's crazy. So they're right now second place for the wild card. I mean, they just overtook the St. Louis Cardinals, even though they have the same winning percentages. The Mets have the tiebreaker because they beat the Cardinals in a series, I believe. But yeah, overall, the Mets are doing really good right now. This offense is really clicking, and the fact is, it hasn't really been clicking since the All-Star break. But overall the season it has been. I'm saying since the All-Star break it hasn't, but overall they're still finding ways to win. So that's really just a great job by them, and they're a very interesting team going into this deadline, and I'm very, very excited and interested as a Mets fan to see what moves they make and overall what decisions are going to be had. Also, I think next year the rotation is going to be looking really great. All the prospects coming up, so very excited about that, and very excited to see this Mets team overall and see what's going to happen. So yeah, that is our second segment here, talking about the Mets and the rotation and what's going on there. Moving into our third segment, which is going to be talking about Robbie Ray and his season debut with the San Francisco Giants, which is going to be happening tonight at 10 o'clock. So I'll be going over that, the impact it's going to have on the team and all that. So yeah, going over the break, and we'll see you then. So thanks, and bye.
Mix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network